It's hard to focus on answers relating to religion because I just don't care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care that you go to your pastor or your religious leader every morning. I don't care how religious you are. I want to talk about the issues. Like, it's fine. I know that religion is important to a lot of people in America, and that's the reason why these issues keep getting brought up.
Yeah.
But it's such a worthless portion of the town hall.
It's actually troubling though as well. If you go back and think about Bush just for a second, God told him.
That's right.
To sort of it was his holy war, right? And I don't want to kind of rehash stuff that we all know. But so at that point, I would agree with you. But then I do disagree slightly because it's like all of a sudden it becomes. I really want you to stop talking about it because it's troubling. If this is actually you're suggesting that this could somehow influence your decisions.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's supposed to demonstrate that you share values with people in the audience or around the country. And the idea is that then your policies will reflect the right sorts of values. But then why don't we just skip one of those many middlemen and talk directly about the values or the policies?
Right.
Rather than I agree with you on your religion, which we know can be interpreted and like you can take one holy book and you can be a crazed right-winger or a crazed left-winger or a whole spectrum in between.
Yeah, there are no crazed religious left-wingers.
There are left-wing Christians in America that are not crazed. That's true.
Yeah, they're not crazed.
But they're left-wing, I suppose.
Left-wing.
My grandfather was left-wing Christian.
And I know,
Democrat.
well, they're certainly regressive. That we know.
That is true.
But what is good, and I always draw this differentiation, and I think it's significant, is that George W. Bush, as Elliot mentioned, and Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, obviously lying, but Marco Rubio too, with his, Jesus, ISIS, ISIS, Jesus, Jesus, ISIS, Sweden, Jesus, ISIS. They bring it up. They take it to you.
Yeah, that's true.
These guys have to get asked a question about it by a rabbi in the crowd for her to go, okay.
Yeah. And Bernie Sanders basically said he's an atheist.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about the minister who I spend 10 minutes with every morning. But otherwise, she doesn't talk about it. She doesn't bring it up. And so, and God bless, that is so much more preferred because that's the rich tradition of progressivism that we've had in this country that has been, like it or not, has been led by Christians and Jews working together. But, Martin Luther King, God mattered to him.
Right.
He had a reading every day.
Yeah.
So I think that is important that we remember that. But again, they weren't out to convert people; they were out to change things for the better. So,
yeah.
And Hillary is reflective of that. And Bernie, of course, as we know, was there, was involved in that.
And I remember in earlier presidential elections, there was this big deal about can the Democrats speak in the language of Christianity to bring the Christians over to them. And they needed to do that because so many of the Republican candidates were doing it. But now we're seeing that while evangelicals are more likely to vote for Republicans, they don't really seem to care about it either. I mean, Trump clearly doesn't know anything about Christianity. He thought that Jerry Falwell Jr. was a reverend. He thinks it's 2 Corinthians. And they still love him. And a lot of these polls are showing that they're not as religious as they used to be, even on the right.
Well, they love him because their racism and their bigotry overpowers whatever religious belief they have.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And there is a war against Christmas, and he's going to save it. He's going to make everyone say, he's going to make Macy's say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.